When Nancy Kulp gave one of her final interviews, her voice was steady, measured, unmistakably intelligent, and for the first time in decades, completely unfiltered. By then, she had lived many lives. Born Nancy Jane Kulp on August 28, 1921, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, she was raised in a disciplined, academically driven household that valued ideas over glamour. Long before Hollywood ever knew her name, she was a journalism graduate from what is now Florida State University, trained to observe carefully and speak precisely, skills that would later define both her performances and her politics. During World War II, she put ambition aside to serve in the U.S. Navy Reserve as part of the Waves, rising to lieutenant junior grade, an experience that instilled in her a lifelong sense of order, duty, and personal backbone. Hollywood came later, and it came on her terms. She studied, she worked, she built a resume through intelligence rather than image. She appeared in films like Shane, The Three Faces of Eve, and The Parent Trap, but her defining moment arrived in 1962 when she became Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies. As the sharp, loyal, socially refined secretary to oil tycoon Jed Clampett, played by Buddy Ebsen, Kulp created a character who could have been a caricature but instead felt human. She infused Miss Hathaway with dignity, romantic hope, and quiet strength. Audiences adored her. Emmy nominations followed. But fame has a shadow. Behind the laughter and record-breaking ratings, Kulp later admitted, there were tensions that never made it into reruns. In her final reflections, she dismantled the myth of the big happy family set. She spoke not with drama, but with clarity. She described feeling diminished, controlled, professionally tolerated, but never fully respected. For a woman who had served her country, earned her education, and built her career through intellect, that dynamic cut deeply. She stayed professional. She did her job. But she acknowledged that it came at an emotional cost. And in saying so, she reclaimed something powerful, her own narrative. Off-screen, her life was just as unconventional. Her brief early marriage ended in divorce at a time when that choice carried stigma, and she later stepped boldly into politics, running for Congress in Pennsylvania in 1984 as a Democrat, not as a celebrity stunt, but as a continuation of her belief in civic responsibility. It was the same woman who had worn a Navy uniform, who believed public service mattered. In her final years, facing cancer with the same composed realism that marked her entire life, Nancy Kulp retreated not into bitterness, but into honesty. She passed away on February 3, 1991, in Palm Desert, California, far from the bright studio lights that once framed her silhouette. Yet what remains is not just Miss Jane Hathaway's polite smile. It is the portrait of a woman who refused to be simplified, educated, disciplined, politically engaged, occasionally wounded, but always articulate enough to tell her own truth when it mattered most.